Hi everyone. In today's video, I will be doing a ring pour. So back here, I have my cream colored base layer. I'm going to move that aside and I'll start layering these cups with the acrylic paint mixtures. I have my 5 acrylic paint mixtures in different shades of blue. I created all of these with Liquitex, acrylic paint, Floetrol, and water. In my previous video, I go over how to create these acrylic paint mixtures. And in an upcoming video, I will show how to create these specific shades of blue. So you can see here, I'm just layering each of these paint mixtures one on top of the other, nice and slow and only a little bit at a time. I want there to be many rings, so I'm going to do many layers. I also want the 3 rings to look a little bit different from each other. So each of these 3 cups, I'm using different ratios of the colors. This one, I'm mainly adding the 2 darkest colors. I want this to be the darkest ring with just little accents of the light in between for that contrast. I'm not going to fill this cup right to the top. I want to leave a little room when you're pouring the rings. You won't have control of the cup tilting if it's filled too high. So that should do it for our dark ring. Now we'll move on to the second ring. In this cup, I'm going to use equal parts of all 5 of these acrylic paint mixtures. We'll have a good mix of all the shades of blue. Now each of these cups is 3 ounces. Since I'm not filling it to the top, it's probably about 2.5 ounces of the acrylic paint mixture in each cup, which gives us 7.5 ounces total for this pour. I'm going to be covering a canvas that is 11 by 14, so that will be enough to cover the canvas nicely. I also have a previous video showing an equation I made up to make sure you're using the right amount of acrylic paint mixture for a certain canvas size. And sorry about these terrible, wrinkly, oversized gloves. I ran out of the ones I usually use, so I found these lying around. I just didn't want to get paint on my hand. As you can see, there's already paint on my arm, so that is pretty typical with fluid pouring. Now I'm just about done this second cup. We'll add a few more layers in here, and then we'll move on to the third, which will be the remainder of the paint mixture, but I'm going to try to make it the lightest of the 3 by using mostly the 3 lighter shades. So that should do it. We have our second cup ready to go. We'll move on to the third and final cup for these rings. Something to consider when layering all of these colors for a ring pour is that the colors I'm pouring in here that end up at the bottom of the cup will be the center of the ring. So those colors will be very prominent on the canvas. So if you want a specific shade or color to really pop, you're going to want to put it at the very bottom of the cup. As I start layering up higher here and getting to the top of the cup, those colors will likely disappear a little bit more. The outside of the ring, which is the top of the cup here, will likely be poured off the edges. So this part's not quite as important. So this third cup is just about done. And now we have our 3 rings. I'm noticing the one here, the lighter one, isn't quite as full. So I'm going to add a little bit of the base layer to it. That will disappear anyway since it's the first to pour off. So let's move on to the base layer. I have my beautiful cream acrylic paint mixture. I'm just going to messily pour it over the canvas, take my gloved hand, spread it all out. This is just the base layer. It's going to help the rings glide across the canvas nicely and maintain their shape. So this layer does not need to be perfect by any means. I'm just picking out little chunks I find here. I clearly didn't mix this quite well enough. But since it's the base layer, I can just easily pick it out with the gloved hand, no problem. As long as most of the canvas is covered, you're good for the base layer. So I'm just spreading it across the canvas by tilting and using my gloved hand. And we'll get most of the canvas evenly covered with this cream color. I just have it propped up there on 4 upside down cups. I'm going to tap out some bubbles. I will also torch out some bubbles and then let it sit for a couple minutes to even out, and we will get to pouring our rings. Now on to the ring pours. So I'm starting with my first ring here. Nice, slow, circular motions. And now you can see I'm moving the cup inwards. I'm going to finish the ring in the center. I'm keeping the paint mixture far away from the edges. It will spread out a lot. I don't want it pouring off the edges, making the ring a wonky shape and also wasting a bunch of paint. This part here is the trickiest part of a ring pour in my opinion. It's getting that very center. I lift the cup very slowly. Oftentimes with my rings, when I've lifted it there, a bit of paint drops right on top of the beautiful rings and ruins it. So I like to tilt the cup as much as I can. So when I lift it up, I can almost drape that excess paint onto the outside of the cup. There you go. You can see I tilted the cup right there. So now when I lift it, I can get that dripping paint to go on the cup and not on the freshly poured ring. So now on to the third and final ring. This was the lighter of the 3. I'm keeping it again away from the edges, pretty close to the other 2 rings, but I did leave enough space that I will have a nice cream colored line between the 3. So I'm just finishing the center of this ring, tilting the cup, and now we have our 3 rings. We're ready to spread it across the canvas. So to spread it, I'm just lifting the canvas and slightly tilting it nice and slow so it doesn't pour too quickly. I like to go over each corner one at a time to make sure the canvas is fully covered. But I try not to let too much paint pour off there, or you won't have enough when you get to your 3rd or 4th corner. Once I have all 4 corners covered, I can still move the paint around on the canvas. There is enough, so I can choose the placement of the rings on the canvas. Make sure it's even and the look I'm going for. So now all the corners are covered, and I'm just going to tilt the canvas around. I was so focused here, I didn't realize you couldn't quite see it on camera, but you'll see the final result in just a second. So just the finishing touches here, and I'll put it back down on the 4 cups. And there we have it. So this is the final result of the ring pour. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.